Hi, good afternoon, everyone. And today we're going to be doing choosing a research topic. With this presentation, we'll talk about the research process. Then we'll talk about research reports, talk a bit about plagiarism. Then we'll end focusing on the research topic. So when it comes to conducting research, as we relate with the residents, it's helpful for us to take them through something like this for them to know the different steps that they have to go through. It's actually helpful to let them have a checkbox that they can check as they go along to know that they've not missed any steps in doing the research work. So the first thing is to identify a research topic, and that's what we're going to be talking about for the greater part of this presentation. And once a person gets their research topic, the next thing to do to refine that research topic is to formulate research questions. So based on the research topic, one can come out with different research questions that one would like to answer related to that topic. And after this first set of research questions, I'll call them the zero draft of research questions. And after that, then a person can do a detailed literature review. And based on the information gained from the literature review, these research questions can then be revised and got to the form that will be used for the research. So there's probably going to be quite a bit of back and forth, revising and re-revising the research questions until the resident and the supervisors are all satisfied with the research question. Then with the research questions in place, there would be a hypothesis for some of those questions, not necessarily all of them, but there would be a hypothesis for some of those questions, and that hypothesis will influence the sample size calculation. Once a person has got this together, then the next big thing is to write the research proposal. And we'll look at the different sections of the research proposal, and then have the data collection instrument that'll be used in the conduct of the research. Once the proposal and data collection instruments are put together, that's and that's approved by supervisors. That's a point at which the residents will then submit the proposal to the college for it to be reviewed. When that's reviewed by the reviewers, the residents get the comments, will need to revise that proposal. And once there's a complete approval of the research proposal by the reviewers, then the resident gets a letter from the college to go ahead and obtain ethical approval. And with the ethical approval, there might be further comments from the ethical review team for the proposal to be revised further, but it definitely won't be major things once it's been seen by the proposal reviewers. And once the ethical approval is obtained, then data can be collected, data entered and analyzed, and then the research report is written. So these are the steps in conducting the research, and it's very helpful for us to get the residents to identify these steps and take as they go along. So for the research proposal, these are the general sections of any research proposal that we have. I mean, the first part is the abstract. That's the first thing that is seen, but usually that'll be the last thing that is written. Then there's the introduction, the background information, the problem statement, and sometimes all these things, from what I've headlined here as introduction all the way to the justification, that might be in a big section that is introduction, but all these things need to be there. Problem statement, and then the justification for carrying out the research. Then the objectives of the study would be put out. Then there's a detailed literature review. And these different sections, both of the proposal and the dissertation, will also be addressed Then there is the method section. How exactly is the study going to be carried out, where the candidate will be expected to describe in detail how this study is going to be carried out so that anybody reading it can actually reproduce the study. And then what's expected to be found, what does a person expect to find from the study? Then there's a budget, the timeline, and the references. So this is essentially the sections of the research proposal. And once a candidate is able to get this research proposal right, I would say about 60 to 70% of the work is done. Because when we come to the research report, we see that the only difference between the research report and the proposal. So this is a proposal one, this is a research report. We'll realize that after the methodology, now there would be a statement on the results, the discussion, conclusion and recommendations, and then the references. Usually between the research proposal and the research report, I mean, a person would be expected to probably do some more on the literature review, because the literature review chapter for the main report is usually more detailed than the literature review report for the proposal. So it's not just to add the results, discussion, conclusion, and references. I mean, the framework from the proposal would be there, but there'll be the need to probably beef up the literature review. I mean, read more around it, expand that section from the proposal. And then with the method section, sometimes after the study is carried out, there'll be certain things that might change in the field. So then that section might also need to be revised to say exactly what happened when the data were being collected. Then there'll be the results, the discussion, conclusion, and references. And we'll have a session where all these sections are going to be talked about. So yesterday, the issue about the dissertation writing guidelines came up. And this is how we can get the dissertation writing guidelines. If we go to the college website, which is gcps.edu.gh, we get to this landing page. And then when we move the cursor to residency training, this drop-down menu is going to come. And then when we click on dissertation guidelines and submission, the current document that is there, we'll be able to download it. And like we said at yesterday's session, this document is being revised. And within the next month or two, the updated version will be up. But it will be important for us to download this version that is there and familiarize ourselves with it, because this is the version that is guiding the residents currently as they prepare their dissertation. So it will be good for us to see what it is. There are some things there which, I mean, are not the regular practice, which we are changing, and the revised version would cover that. So when the residents get down to writing the dissertation, it's helpful for us to, let's say, give them some advice on how to make sure that they get things done properly and how to make sure that they don't fall behind. And some of these things might look obvious, but you'll be surprised at how many residents probably don't do this. I mean, the first thing is to get the requirements from the college website. So it's important for the residents to visit the website as we showed here. It's important for them to go to the website, download the dissertation guidelines, and know exactly what is required in terms of the font size, the spacing, and all that. It's also important to tell them that they've got to start writing early. And one thing that we need to let all our residents and mentees know is that the thing about writing, like a number of us would know, is that it's not every day that when you wake up, you basically feel like writing. I mean, there needs to be some kind of writing spirit that grabs you, and then you are writing. There are some days when you're writing and you don't want to stop, and some days when you sit behind the computer and no words even come out. So it's important for them to start writing early. writing in the bits that they do. And when it gets to a time when they really have got the idea crystallized, they've got to put it down, keep writing till they stop feeling like writing. And then computer literacy is very important. We should tell all our residents that they've got to be very conversant with Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, because Excel is what they're going to be using for putting out the different charts, Word and Excel. Definitely PowerPoint, because they're going to be doing presentations with that. And through the residency training, they'll probably have the chance to use PowerPoint. So they'll be probably okay with that. But then using of the Excel is probably the one that might come out with a challenge. But when one knows that the pie charts, the tables and all that becomes relatively easy to do. All our residents should be encouraged to get a computerized reference management system. We are no more in the days where you do your references by hand. They should all know that they are 21st century residents, and they should get a software that manages the references. There are free reference managers that are online. There's Mendeley. Mendeley is a free source that's online that one can get, or they could choose to invest in buying one of the other reference management systems. But why buy when there's a free system available? And I think our last session is going to touch on reference management systems. And residents should also be advised to make use of downtime. Downtime in the sense that the time when you don't really feel like writing, that time should be used to gather the material that you're going to use to write. Like we talked yesterday about giving residents at least one day in the week that is time for their research. That time might not necessarily be used to write. If at that point you start writing and realize that the writing is not going, you don't just go stop and do something that's non-research. What they should do is then to gather the information. Probably do a literature search, download some material, and make full use of that working day. And then when it comes to the time that they really feel like the idea is then they need to write, even if it's not, they shouldn't just wait for their free day before they get down and are doing that writing. They should, when that clinic ends, they basically should go sit down and write at that time, because later on the writing might not happen. And it's important to plan carefully. To have deadlines set out. And the current dissertation guidelines talks about a 120-page limit. We're going to revise that and use a word count, because it's been seen that with a page limit, people do things like blow up one big pie chart just to make up one page, and then one of the 120 pages is gone. We're going to set word limits now. It's important for them to know, like, how many pages need to go into each section, even if it's a word limit. How many pages need to go into each section, and then work towards that. So if it's going to be like a 120-page document, to share out those pages in the level of importance, and one can always go beyond the pages. Now it's a word count, but the same thing about setting a page budget can be important. And it's important to also ask the residents to look at other proposals and dissertations that have been approved, just for them to have a good idea of what's expected of the writing. So if they want to produce a good dissertation, we're going to provide a guide with a timeline for them to know, like Prof. Intri mentioned yesterday. So there will be a timeline that they'll know that they can work within. And it's important to finish every section early in advance, so that there's enough time for supervisors to read through and give a response. And we as the supervisors, when the residents kind of like give us their writing, it's good for us to give ourselves like a 2-week limit. At most 4 weeks, where we get the feedback to them. And the residents should know that during that 4-week break, it doesn't mean that no work is going on. Sometimes that's how some residents behave. Once they submit, they are waiting and not going to move until they get the feedback. But the other things that they can do, I mean, whether it's analyzing data, that if they've collected some data while somebody's reading over some chapters or whatever. And residents should be encouraged to get backups. I mean, some of this look very obvious, but it's when it's getting close to submission time that your computer chooses to crash. And it's very difficult for us as supervisors when you are giving material to read and then you kind of like spelling mistakes, grammatical errors distract you from the science of the subject. So I advise people I supervise to get a proofreader. And one thing I tell them, sometimes you just need to get a bright 15-year-old who doesn't even know the subject, who would read through your thing for you and would discover spelling mistakes and grammar that just doesn't make sense. And it's important for each of our residents to have somebody who proofreads, so that by the time they bring the work to us, all those spelling mistakes and bad grammar, somebody has picked it up, because we can't be doing that work in addition to looking at the material. And the abstract is the last thing that is written, but that's the first thing that is looked at by a reviewer or an assessor. So a lot of work needs to go into that, so that the abstract and the introduction basically hook the person who's reading, and the person is already biased in your favor by the time the person is going through it. I mean, there should always be backups. Like I said, don't trust the hardware to crash at the time that you don't want it to crash. And then when it comes to the time for printing, copying, binding, they should allow plenty of time. You'll be amazed at probably not amazed, because you've been doing this for some time, at the amount of printing and binding that's happening just like 2 days before the submission, actually on the day of the submission deadline. But then, I mean, our residents should be encouraged not to do that. Some would still do that. Some just like doing things at the last minute, but it's probably not the best thing to do. So as we go on and talk about doing research, it's important for us to talk about plagiarism. The college currently requires all residents, when they are submitting their document, to run it through Turnitin, so that there'll be a report or a similarity index report. So Turnitin would check what they've written with what is already out there online, and they would print out the Turnitin report, and based on that, we'll know whether there's been plagiarism or not. And plagiarism can be deliberate or not deliberate. With Turnitin, essentially, we're not going to get work that has a high similarity index, but it's important for our residents to know what plagiarism is. And it's simply when you present someone's work as your own. I mean, either you are deliberately copying the completed work and not crediting where it came from. But then sometimes people kind of like plagiarize or get their similarity index so high because they actually don't know that what they're doing is plagiarism, where they take a document and copy the exact words, then they put a reference by it. Once that is done, I mean, that is plagiarism, and Turnitin would pick that as these exact words are from another publication. So residents should be advised to like read documents, and if they want to report what has been written in those documents, they've got to paraphrase it, write it in their own words. And if they are lifting things word for word, that should be put in italics and in quotation marks, and then referenced. It's in italics and quotation marks and then referenced, and then that is not seen as plagiarism. However, I mean, you don't want to like put a whole page or a whole chapter in italics and inverted commas. So they need to limit the length and extent of the quotations. So these are things that all our residents must have. They should own a computer, know the basic software, like I said, and then have software for data entry and analysis. And it's important for them to be able to enter the data themselves and do some basic analysis themselves, then software for organizing the references. With all this, then they are good to go. So then we'll talk about research topic. So for the research topic, when we talk about a research topic, we're talking about something that broadly defines the area of research. It's not the same as the title. Sometimes people think that what we want them to do is to state the title when we talk about a research topic. It's just a broad area. Like a person might say that what my research topic is malaria in children under 5. That's the person's research topic. It's not the title. Basically, it's saying that this is the area of my research. I'm going to do a study in malaria that occurs in people under 5. And then this research topic needs to be worked on further before it can be developed into a full-blown research topic. So one exercise that helps in terms of getting a research topic is what some people have referred to as mind mapping of interests. And essentially, one thing that if a resident asks us, how do I get a research topic? Well, obviously the person has been practicing in that area for some time or knows something about the area, has joined the residency program. And it's important, and usually these people are doing the fellowship, so they've done the membership in the area. They most likely have a fair idea of the different aspects of the specialty. And it's for them to sit down, it might be a few minutes, it might be or a few hours, to identify a certain number of areas of specialty that interest them. So like I said, you could say it's malaria in children. It could be what do you call it? It could be looking at neurological problems in children. It could be, maybe he said he's interested in hypertension in a certain group of people. So when they get this big areas, malaria, it's hypertension, it's seizure attacks, or whatever that big area of the specialty is, then they can now zero in on, okay, if it's malaria in children that you're interested in, what aspect of it are you really interested in? If it's seizure disorders, what aspect of seizure disorders are you interested in? So then the aspects of the subject area that interests them then become the research topic. And it's helpful for them to identify probably 3 different areas, and then maybe about 3 aspects under each of the areas, so that when they come to meet you for the discussion or the research topic, it's not just coming with a one line, this is my research topic. They basically got I would say that'll be 9 different options. If you identify 3 areas of the specialty that interest you, and then 3 different aspects of each of these areas that interest. For instance, if you say that you're interested in, say, malaria in children, then you might say that the aspect that you're interested in is the neurological complications of malaria that occur in children. Or what you are interested in is something to do with maybe the things that prevent recurrence of malaria, or maybe you want to look at the response to some particular treatments of malaria amongst children. So in a sense, that's one area that's malaria, and you've got 3 different aspects, and those 3 aspects could come out as 3 research topics. So then the supervisor can engage with this, let me say, 9 different things that are there. At the end, we'll definitely be able to settle one or two possible research topics. But when they come with just one line, this is my research topic, usually we talk about that and realize that this is not good enough. And it's like, go back, get another topic. But if they do this mind mapping of interest, it really helps in getting the research topics. So these are questions that we can give to our residents for them to work through. If they ask us, how do I get a research topic? I mean, first, it's like you want to do your research in some aspect of the discipline that interests you. If you don't pick an area that can hold your interest, you're not likely to get any good research topic out of that. Or at the end, you drop the research and say, okay, I'm starting another thing. So what aspect of the discipline interests you? This is a conversation that we can have with them in helping them come out with a research topic. And then in this, also in the field of practice, if it's OBGYN, if it's general surgery, you're asking yourself, what things in this field do you have questions about? I remember when I was doing my residency thing, one of the questions that I had, I mean, it was a thing that just intrigued me through my housemanship and early time through residency, and that was that, why is it that different people appear to do different types of surgery for cases of ruptured uterus? And sometimes as the resident assisting, it's like, okay, this rupture looks like the one that consultant X had the other day, but consultant Y working on it now is doing a totally different surgery. One chooses to do a hysterectomy, the other is repairing it and tying the tubes. What exactly is it? And that led me to, so it was basically my research topic was surgical management of ruptured uterus, and that led me to do a retrospective 5-year analysis of ruptured uterus cases and look for the determinants of different things, not just the treatment and some other things as well. So what is it that they observed in the field that they have questions about? Or have they read articles, that have raised questions in their mind? And what are those questions? Sometimes residents are advised, or research trainees are advised to have like a notebook and just jot the questions that come up, whether it's in clinic or it's in on ward rounds. Just jot those questions down, and out of that, one could come out with a research topic. And as they read, what are the current issues in the field? What are the current issues in the field, and how are those issues being addressed? What does the literature say, and what are the needs that exist in the subject area? So when the research topic is got, how do they then end up knowing that this research topic they have, or these questions that they have, are useful or are significant? That's where things like the health status of the nation, research agenda, if there's a document like that, previous research that has been performed, and what in the discussion section these people have written and said, we need more information on ABC. All those things need to be done to get research that is useful. And then there's the aspect of research that is feasible. And with that one, then the resident needs to ask themselves, funding for the research. There's no point going out and doing an elaborate proposal and then coming out and saying that, well, this is too expensive and we can't fund it. And then that's when they do things like, my sample size calculation came out to 500, but because of funds, I did only 100, which is basically a waste of everybody's time, waste of the time of the people who've been interviewed and all that. So effect of available funding would determine that. And also, no need writing a proposal seeking to do certain measurements when you don't have the equipment available. And sometimes some residents will come out with some really lofty research ideas, as though the residency time it's like 5 or 10 years. But it's not that. They are not going to do groundbreaking research as part of their residency. And also, whether they have people who can support them, whether they are any experts in that field. There's no point in a resident choosing to do research on a topic where in their department they don't have the expert that is there. So these are the things I'll kind of like share from now about the research topic. I think this is essentially, we've said a bit about this. So if they want to get a research topic, they've got to be reading. I mean, you can't come up with a useful research topic if you haven't done any reading. Sitting in seminars, conferences, presentations, picking questions that are from there, that would help. Talking with peers and seniors, that's also a helpful thing, and asking questions. So after they settle on the research topic, after we've gone through all this thing, look through the 9 different options, and then settle on, say, this 1 or 2 research topics, that's what needs to be done. What is the next step that needs to happen? And that is the development of research questions, which Sandra will be talking about after this. Development of research questions, and then performing a literature review. And all this might lead to maybe a modification or a change in the research topic. But these are the things that then get the research topic well sorted out. So when we point this out to our residents, they'll realize that getting a research topic is not just a question of sitting back and then writing the first few things that come to their mind. That's why then they'll come and then you'll be told to go back and sort out that research topic. And we are not going to ask them to come up with the title of their research, because that is not what a research topic is. I mean, the title can be defined afterwards. So with that, I think that's the last slide on the research topic. So thanks for listening.